Okay, I think we'll start, sir. It's time. So very good morning, sir. And once again, participants, welcome to the second session of day 5 of the FTP. I think we have some 50 plus participants and the others may be joining. This session will be handled by Paramanandam, sir. Dr. Paramanandam, I have already introduced, so I'm not introducing once again. This session will be on team dynamics. So team, of course, it's a very important concept when we in our workplace, as well as this concept also we need to help our students imbibe, because among the skills which are most essential for the future, this collaboration, teamwork has been identified as one of the most important soft skills which will be of value in the future. So, sir, over to you, sir.
Thank you, madam.
Thank you for accepting our invite to deliver the session on a holiday.
It's my pleasure, madam.
We appreciate, sir. We appreciate. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Over to you. Over to you, sir.
Thank you. Good morning. Today I'm very happy that I don't have any technical problems, technical issues. Okay, this session is all about team dynamics. Probably I think I request all of you to just recall what we have learned in the previous session. Previous means in my last session. We talked about leadership in teams, two important variables. One is motivation, how to motivate members. Then second one, power. In order to lead, you should have the power to influence the behavior of people. So what are all the power bases we have seen? Which of those bases are reliable, good? Everything we have seen. And this session is all about team dynamics. Maybe I think I should start with the term dynamics. I don't know. Maybe there may be some people working in physics department. They may know. They talk about dynamics every day, I think, I hope. Dynamics, the word dynamics has come from Greek, dynamis, meaning force. So when we apply that in OB, group dynamics or team dynamics, team dynamics refers to forces operating within a team. In fact, this team dynamics is of recent origin. Previous to that, we had group dynamics. Group dynamics is a vast area wherein we study forces operating within a group. So group dynamics, from group dynamics now, we have team dynamics, forces operating within a team. Today's session is all about what are those forces. Especially, we are more concerned with team effectiveness, right? We should have the skill to work in a team player. Then we should be able to lead a team. It should be an effective team. So our focus is on team effectiveness, how to achieve team effectiveness. So this session is all about what are all the variables that will have an impact on team dynamics. So in order to understand team, I think let me start from the basics. How groups develop. Already I told you a team is a mature group. A team is a mature group. I think in the last session, I defined group as two or more people with a unifying relationship. Two or more people, group. I'm talking about a group. Two or more individuals interacting and interdependent who have come together to achieve particular objectives. That is a group. Or in simple terms, two or more people with a unifying relationship. Something unifies these two or more people. If that is the case, then we say there is a group. Okay, so group. Team is a mature group focused on task accomplishment. So we should try to understand how groups develop. One B.W. Tuckman, around 1960s, he summarized the findings of other researchers on group development. And finally, he arrived at a 5-stage model of group development. This is Tuckman's summary of group development. So according to Tuckman, generally groups pass through 5 stages. If it is a permanent group, then there are just 4 stages. If it is a temporary group, then there are 5 stages. Let's start with the first stage, forming stage. You just think about your own group. Probably you are a member of a number of groups. Each one of you may be a member of number of groups. It may be a formal group or it may be an informal group, whatever. Definitely each one of you will be a member of number of groups. So you just think about how that group evolved. The first stage, forming stage. In the forming stage, there is uncertainty. There is uncertainty about group's purpose, structure, processes, right? So nothing is clear. You try to get to know each other. That is forming stage. So forming stage is characterized by uncertainty. Second stage, storming stage. In this stage, storm, I think the word itself implies conflict, right? Storm. Conflict develops within that group. Why conflict? Conflict because of the constraints that a group imposes on each one of the members of that group. Because you have your own personality. Suppose there are some 6 members or 7 members, 6 or 7 members. So there are 6 or 7 different personalities. We already know each one is unique. Each one of you is unique because of your personality. When you form a group, then there will be some constraints on your behavior. So when somebody imposes constraints on you, naturally, you may resist and conflicts may develop. So that is storming stage, characterized by conflicts. Third stage, the group slowly, members try to understand each other. They try to understand the personality of other people in the group. Slowly a leader may emerge. Close relationships may develop. That stage. During that stage, the group may have its own standards. So that is why that norms are standards. We know we have a number of norms, standards. So standards develop. That is the third stage. Then fourth stage, performing. Now that there is a leader, there are standards. The group focuses on task accomplishment, performing. So it's a matured group. There is role clarity. See, if you look at the figure, I think it implies everyone works to achieve group goals. Okay. If it is a permanent group, then this will be the last stage, performing. The group is fully matured and it focuses on task accomplishment. But suppose it is a temporary group. For example, in companies you might have seen task groups. Right? Once the task is completed, the group will be disbanded. Or even our own student groups, 2-year program, first year MBA, first year MSc, right? Second year. Then after second year, they disband the group. Then there may be informal groups. There may be number of informal groups within this formal group. That informal group may continue, right? But that formal group disbands. So for temporary groups, there is the 5th stage called adjourning. Adjourning stage. Adjourn, you know the meaning. Adjourn. Usually in films, you might have seen in the court scene, the judge finally, after hearing, the judge will say, the court is adjourned. So in this stage, the group prepares for disbandment, wrapping up activities. In colleges, you might have seen students, the groups taking photographs, collecting autographs, and conducting some farewells, etc. All these are in the 5th stage. So these are the stages of group development. Forming, characterized by uncertainty. Storming, characterized by conflict. Norming, characterized by standards. Performing, the focus is on task accomplishment. Then temporary groups disband. But the later research evidences indicate that all groups do not necessarily follow the standard sequence. Right? For example, even now you may have a doubt. Suppose there is a group, there is a matured group which is focused on task accomplishment. Right? A team or a group focused on performance. Will there be conflict or not? So within our department, do we have conflicts or not? Maybe, for example, aided colleges, faculty may be working for 15 or 20 years, senior people. Will there be conflicts or not among faculty members in a matured group, in a matured team? What is your response? There will be conflicts or there won't be any conflict? I believe.
I think they're responding in the chat, sir.
Oh. Okay. So I should check the chat also, right, madam?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Because most of them,
yes.
they'll be responding in the chat. Yeah.
Yes, madam.
Certainly, there will be conflicts in every field, sir. Not only in academics, not only in the teacher community or something like that.
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
Conflicts are quite common, sir.
Yes, conflicts are inevitable, universal. Conflicts are universal,
indispensable.
So my point is, when a group is in the 4th stage, that is performing stage, there will be conflict. Conflicts are the characteristics of one of the characteristics of storming stage. So storming and performing may go simultaneously. But this is the general pattern. It helps to understand, right? I think this particular summary of group development helps us to understand how groups and teams develop. But we should remember, we should keep that also in our mind. Sometimes it may not be so. That we should remember. Okay. So now we know how groups or how teams develop. A team is a performing group, right? Focused on task accomplishment. Already we know the characteristics of team, how a team differs from a group. That already we have seen. So we need not go back to that. right? Now the characteristics of effective teams. What are the So just remember a group in the fourth stage, performing stage. Assume that it is a team, because we are concerned with team dynamics, not group dynamics. Team. What are all the characteristics? Already almost we know. I think in the last session also we touched upon this. In an effective team, there is a clear unity of purpose, not just purpose, unity of purpose. The group is self-conscious about its own operations. So a group or a team, members should know how they work, what they should do, what is expected, how to do that, everything, the procedures, policies, everything, the norms. Members should know that. The group has set clear and demanding performance goals. Goal setting, already we know, goal setting motivates people. Goal setting theory by Edwin Locke, probably you may remember, right? Specificity of goals and difficulty of goals and acceptance, of course, goal acceptance. These three help in achieving a high level of performance. Then informal and comfortable atmosphere. In most of the effective teams, informality. See, the problem is when you formalize everything, your effectiveness means your group, your team effectiveness will go down. For example, I know in a college, in an arts and science college, in a particular department, I know one head of the department. And I know the members of the department also, unfortunately. Right? What happens in that department, even for a small work, members should apply formally. Everything is formalized because that particular head of the department is very much interested in documentation. There is a term called buffing, B-U-F-F-I-N-G, buffing. It is a tactic, buffing tactics. So that particular head of the department, everything should be formalized. Suppose, say for example, I have 4th session class. Suppose I have 4th session class, but unfortunately 4th session I can't handle. So I want that session to be postponed to 5th session. So instead of 4th, I'm ready to handle 5th session. If a member approaches the head of the department, what he used to say is, you have to write a letter. At the time, not mails. Right? Nowadays we send mails, but at the time when it happened, the focus was on writing formal letters. And for that, actually, in the department, they keep papers. It is the members. Actually, the members, they buy papers and they keep it ready because every day someone has to write something. So a faculty member has to write a formal letter to the head of the department to postpone his 4th session to 5th. Now my question is, can you expect that department to be effective? You consider the department as a team, right? Let us avoid debate about whether that particular department that we are talking about, is it a team, or let us avoid that debate. You consider it as a team, right? Can you expect that team to be effective? For anything and everything, you have to write formally to the head of the department, and not to the principal or to the head of the department. And interestingly, all the faculty members are sitting in the same room. There is no separate room for the head of the department. All the faculty members will be sitting in one particular room only. And in that room, members have to write letters formally to the head of the department to get permission. What is your opinion? Will the team be effective or it won't be effective? It seems some of you support, right? Some of you are ready to support that particular head of the department, right? For anything and everything, there should be a formal letter. The problem is that kind of groups will not be effective. That team will not be effective. When you increase formality, effectiveness will go down.
There are a few comments in the chat box also, sir.
Oh, but
yeah. They are posting in chat box.
Okay, some problems expressed by, that is, they are not able to post messages and feedback link. Okay. See, it is always better to have an informal, relaxed atmosphere. Your focus should be on task accomplishment, nothing else. We should perform. Then discussion. For anything and everything, members should discuss and should try to arrive at a consensus, right? The point is, each and every member should participate in that. Probably finally the decision may be taken by the leader. If you are the leader, you take your own decision, but consult. Already we have seen consultation as a power base, power tactics, consultation. Okay.
Sir, we have also noticed, if you permit me, shall I speak, sir?
Yes, yes.
Yes, sir. We have also noticed that most of the time in the boardrooms, there are more disagreements. But when there is a get together, there's a warm, party or many big decisions are taken even at that time. So this is a gesture which we always feel that is also one of the reasons that in management colleges, more of case studies are given, group discussions are given. And even companies, they come to hire people on the basis of group discussion, because discussion brings much more consensus among people. That's what I feel, sir.
Yes, madam. What you said is correct, because see, already you might have come across emotional intelligence, right? Emotions in organizations. Let us talk about emotions in organizations. One of the sources of emotions in organizations is social activities. So during social activities, in general, members feel happy. They experience positive mood during social activities. Everyone feels happy, right? Instead of that, if you have a formal meeting, then everyone will be serious. Either they try not to utter any word. If they speak, then finally that will result in a conflict. So it is always better. It is always better to have an informal atmosphere. Try to consult everyone. Right. Before we go to the next slide, can you just explain what is happening in the picture? What is happening? You find honeybees. What is happening? What is unique in that picture? Why beehives we have seen, but this picture, you look at this picture, this is something the photographer might have spent, or he was lucky. He was lucky to get this snap. Any idea what is happening?
Hmm. Abha has mentioned bonding, trust on member, holding on each other, final goal, chat.
Yes, madam. Yes, madam. But that normally happens. Normally happens. Here you find two groups of bees, right? I think you call them swarms, right? Am I right, madam? That board?
Yes.
Each one is a swarm, right?
Swarm. Yes, yes.
Okay. So
Swarm of bees.
you find two swarms. So now the bees want to merge these two swarms into one bigger one because it's growing. They are growing. They are growing. So they want to merge these two into one. So some bees, what they do, already they have formed a bridge between these two swarms. You find a bridge between these two swarms. And after this, then other bees will come and they will sit on these bees. So that after some time, the two swarms will become one. Teamwork. Performance. Okay, let's continue with the characteristics. See, people are free in expressing their feelings as well as their ideas. The point is, in some cases, you are able to express your ideas. Superiors may ask for members' ideas, but in some cases, in some groups or some teams, superiors are not concerned with the feelings. Feelings are equally important. Feelings are equally important because ideas, the thought process, right? Cognitive dimension of behavior, cognition, thinking, reasoning, problem solving, all these are cognitive processes. Simultaneously, there will be affective dimension of behavior, emotions, feelings, moods, right? So that affective dimension will have an impact on cognitive behavior and of course on motor behavior, on overt behavior. So if you are a leader, it is not enough if you collect the ideas. You should also consider the feelings of your members. Disagreement is viewed as good. You accept in your department, how many of you can say in your department disagreement is viewed as good? Now we are going to talk about conflict. Conflicts are actually good, right? Conflicts are good. We are going to see that. So disagreement should be viewed as good. We should allow dissent. Most decisions are made at a point where there is general agreement. Because we cannot expect consensus every time, right? So that is why I think the words do not express a consensus. Most decisions are made at a point where there is general agreement. I think this does not imply consensus, I think. Criticism. Criticism is frequent, frank, relatively comfortable. Do you accept? Probably you might have come across constructive criticism. Right? Leadership of the group shifts from time to time. Any idea what does this mean? Leadership shifts. Already you had number of sessions on leadership. Why it is written like this? Leadership of the group shifts from time to time. Why? Probably in some of the sessions, speakers might have talked about shared leadership. Shared leadership. Leadership is shared in a group, in a team. There may be a formal leader, there may be a designated leader, but then when a situation demands something else, a particular skill, or particularly in a particular situation, handle that situation. So at that time, he will be the leader. He will lead the team. So shared leadership is very important. Already you might have come across that. Okay, these are the characteristics. These characteristics are taken from McGregor's Human Side of Enterprise, Wisdom of Teams by Katzabak. Okay, now what we do, since we are interested in team dynamics, what are all the variables that affect or that influence dynamics? Teams have their own properties. Teams, groups, they have their own properties. So what we do, we just look at some of the vital characteristics of teams, and these characteristics influence effectiveness. They only affect the dynamics. Let us start with the role. Already you know what is a role. We have principals, we have head of the departments, right? Like that in each group, there may be a number of positions. So role is a set of expected behavior patterns attributed to someone occupying a given position in a social unit. For example, in our institution, in our department, we have a director. Because that person occupies the position of a director, members and others expect certain behavior patterns from that person. Right? So that is role. Whenever we think about role, we should think about expected behavior patterns. We play a number of roles. Probably whenever teachers talk about role, I think they will start with Shakespeare's quote, right? Probably Dr. Vandana Madhav Kumar may be recalling that. Okay.
Yeah. Yes, sir.
All it's a stage. Like that. So we, for example, at home, I play the role of a father. Then when I come to the department, I play the role of a faculty. In the friendship group, I play the role of a friend. Sometimes I have mentees. At that time, I play the role of a mentor. Like that, each one of us play a number of roles. So in each role, certain behaviors are expected from us. So now the question is, we are concerned with team effectiveness, right? The point is role perception, an individual's view of how he or she is supposed to act in a given situation. Do I know what is expected from me? That is the concern. Do I know? Do I have a clear role perception? If I do not know what is expected from me, then you cannot expect me to be effective. I think you will accept, right? Sometimes that happens in a group, in a team. Sometimes members do not know what is expected from them. Obviously, in that case, they may not be effective. And overall, the team may not be effective. So role perception. Sometimes role conflicts also emerge, role conflict because of divergent expectations. Usually in colleges, for example, your principal or your head of the department may want you to be strict with regard to continuous internal assessment marks. Be strict, they may advise you. But when you go to students, they will say, be lenient. They want more marks, they want high marks. But your superior wants you to be strict. So you experience a conflict that is called the role conflict because of divergent expectations. So these will have an impact on effectiveness. Okay, so role we know. Status. Status we know. Relative ranking a person holds in a group. It is equally applicable to in an organization, in a society. Relative ranking a person holds in an organization, relative ranking a person holds in a society. But we are concerned with teams, so we restrict ourselves to team dynamics. Relative ranking a person holds in a team. So in a team, members may have differential status. Now you may have a doubt, why? Why members have differential status? There is a theory, probably if you want an answer for that, then there is a theory called status characteristics theory. According to that status characteristics theory, simply status of a member in a team depends upon status characteristics. What are the status characteristics? The theory has identified 3 sources of status characteristics. One is control over resources because of that power. A member in a group team may wield power over others. Power. Already we know what is power. So a member may wield power over other members because of number of reasons. For example, control over resources, control over information, like that. So that is one of the sources of status, power. Second, ability to contribute to group goals. I think we have to accept if a particular member contributes more to group goals, then obviously he will enjoy more a high status. Some time back, everyone talked about Sachin Tendulkar. Why he enjoyed a high status among cricketers, we know, because of his ability to contribute to group goals. Then third source, personal characteristics. Sometimes intelligence. Suppose a particular member is very intelligent, then obviously he will be a powerful person, a high status person in that team. Personality, sometimes even good looks. Suppose a member is handsome, beautiful, it may lead to a high status, So these are the 3 sources of status according to status characteristics theory. Now you may have a doubt. Status okay, different members have differential status, that is okay, but how that will affect effectiveness? Because if a member has a high status in a group, that member may not conform to norms, group norms, the interactions. There may be deviations, right? Okay, let us avoid deviations into that deviant work behavior. Norms, group norms. You might have seen groups have their own norms. What are norms? Acceptable standards of behavior within a group that are shared by the group members. So in a group, there may be certain standards. For example, one group of students, don't take it seriously. Suppose one friendship group in a particular class. They may have a norm like this. After lunch, we will not attend classes. That may be a norm. Acceptable standards of behavior within that group, shared by the group members, norms. Now, norms may be related to performance norms. Usually, for example, suppose you give an assignment, a writing assignment to students. If you observe, you may not have observed that, but if you observe informal groups within your class, suppose in a class of 60 students, suppose there is one group of 6 members. If you go through the assignments submitted by those 6 students, then the number, the page number, pages, probably they might have written some 10 pages. Most of them might have written 10 pages or 9 pages. The number will be the same. Because when they work in a group, they fix their level of performance. This is our level of performance. It may differ across teachers. When economics teacher gives an assignment, we will write these many pages, depending upon some variables, right? So performance norms in industries, in companies also that happens, right? Every day, if you go to government industry to report, then probably group members may have their own norms relating to performance. Every day we will process these many units. Nothing more than that. Performance norms. Appearance norms, how group members should appear to others. Appearance means not only physical, how they appear physically, not only that, even their behavior. For example, our group should appear loyal to the management. One team may have a norm like that. Our team should appear loyal to the management. Suppose if one of the members is expressing something against the management, then other team members will warn that member. Appearance related. Social arrangement. It is relationship within the team. Social arrangement. Members may have norms regarding that also. For example, in a team, there may be both men and women, and there may be some norms relating to how a male member should behave towards a female member, like that. Then maybe regarding allocation of resources, there may be norms. Okay, so a team or a group may have its own norms. We should know what is conformity. When a team has norms, the members will adjust their behavior to align with the norms of that group. That is conformity. Why members conform? Because they want to be accepted by their friends or the other members of the team. We want to be accepted by others. We have the desire to be accepted. So norms, another important variable affecting dynamics. Then cohesion, cohesiveness, degree to which members are attracted to each other and are motivated to stay in the group. You might have experienced cohesion within your team. Now the question is, how can you increase cohesion in your team? Let us assume that you are working in a team. what variables, what are the important vital variables that affect cohesion in a team? Maybe let's start with the size of the team. Usually less than 10 for a team to be effective, for a group to be effective, the number should be less than 10. When the number increases, then slowly cohesion may come down. Then the amount of time spent together. Yes. I think someone is expressing some. Yes.
I think by mistake, sir, I think.
Oh, okay, no problem. Okay. Then if there is a threat from some other group, cohesion will increase. If there is competition from some other group, cohesion will increase. In some cases, it may be very difficult to enter into the particular team. Difficulty in entry. If that is the case, then cohesion among the members of that group will be usually high. Because difficulty is, entry is difficult. So these are some of the reasons. So if you want cohesion to increase, you should take care of the size. You should think about competition, threat from other groups, time you spend together, everything. So cohesiveness, another variable. Diversity. The extent to which members of a group are similar to or different from one another. Okay, I have a doubt. My doubt is this: suppose in an MNC, one particular team, right? Let us assume that in a multinational company, there is a particular team in which members have come from some 5 or 6 countries. American, Japanese, German, French. Let us assume like that. Indian. So one team. What will be the level of performance? Can you make a guess? Just a guess. They have their own skills, task skills. They have. That is why they are put in that team, right? They have the task skills. What will be the level of performance? Will they perform? Already we know the stages: forming, storming, norming, performing. Can you just make a guess? Okay, I think most of you are hungry, right? It seems.
Sir, I have a question.
Yes.
Yes, I'm Vijay.
Yes.
Just want to know, when we talk about the group and group roles and the phases that you have spoken regarding the group development. So that was very wonderful session from you. But then what are the different types of dynamics that matters in group development, and especially with the leadership? How it matters and how it causes damage to the leadership and the whole group development?
I'll come to that. I'll come to team effectiveness in the next part.
Okay.
I will come to that, sir. I'll come to that.
Yes.
Because I think you touched upon the right point. This is okay, variables okay. When we say dynamics, what actually happens within a group, right? Probably that may be the interpretation that I make from your question. Conflict, cooperation. Mainly the team effectiveness depends upon to what extent members are cooperative.
Okay.
Do they cooperate with one another, or level of conflict? What happens? What happens when there is conflict? So cooperation, conflicts. If there is cooperation, no problem at all. We need not bother about cooperation. If members are highly cooperative, then obviously the team will be effective. But if there is conflict, then I think there will be problems. So we should understand why there is conflict, what happens in a conflicting situation, what to do to resolve conflict, that we should know. That we'll take up in the next part, sir. I'll come to that.
Okay, sir. Okay, fine. Thank you.
Let's complete this part. So diversity, the point is, when you put a highly diverse group, right? When you create a highly diverse group, initially what happens, there may be conflicts. Initially, because of maybe because of culture, right? Because each person who has come from a different country may have his or her own aspirations, her own needs, right? Her own expectations, everything, personality, right? So initially what happens, there will be conflicts initially, but over a period of time, in the long run, if you look at the long run, long term, this team will perform better than any other team in that company. Because once they understand the whole, each other person in that group, then they will start cooperating with each other. There will be multiple perspectives. That team will be able to think differently, creativity. Highly creative teams have highly diverse members. I'll come to that later. So diversity adds value. That is why you might have seen companies, probably you may know that now companies have come up with a new department called diversity and inclusion. I think in our department, Dr. Vandana Madhav Kumar is concerned with industry institute interface. Probably she may have details about the companies which have created separate departments. For example, gender diversity, that is okay, right? Probably you may remember what happened in Google, for example. In Google, when a particular engineer sent a mail saying that women do not have the capabilities that men have, which are required, especially in our industry. Then the CEO, who was on an international trip, he cancelled his trip and he went back to the head office and sent a termination letter to that engineer. I think I am right. That is Google, right? I think that happened in Google. One engineer sent a mail saying that women are not equal to men. They do not have the capabilities like we have. That is what he has written. And I think Sundar Pichai, he cancelled his trip and he went back to head office and he sent a termination letter to the engineer. Gender diversity. Maybe one of the reasons, that may be one of the reasons why Google always tops the list in the best employers survey. You may know at a global level, um, when surveys, best employer of choice, best employer survey, whenever a survey is conducted, Google, in most of the cases, Google always tops the list. One of the reasons is this diversity. Now most of the companies have realized the importance of diversity, not only gender diversity, other things also. Now even sexual orientation, right? Okay. So diversity is one of the variables. Okay.
Sir, yes, sir, it happens on Google only.
Yes,
Google terminated that employee.
yes, madam. Thank you. Thank you. Because I had a doubt whether it is in Google or something, some other company, but I think you are right, madam. I think that happened in Google only. So team effectiveness. Actually, we are concerned with this team effectiveness. There is a model, team effectiveness model, based on number of other sources. This model being developed by Stephen P. Robbins, based on number of other models. Three parts in this model. One is context. What is the context? Team. What is the context? What about the composition? What about the process? So I think it's a very good model. There may be number of variables. But if you analyze all those variables, you can categorize all those variables into just three groupings: context, composition, process. Let's start with context. So according to this model, when we talk about team context, this includes these resources. What about resources? Do they have the required resources? All kinds of resources, right? Leadership. Already we know team leadership, what is he or she is expected to do, all those things we know. Leadership and structure. I think whenever we come across this term structure, students always have a doubt. They have a number of doubts with regard to this particular word. For example, in management, we talk about management organization structure. Organization structure. When we ask students what is meant by organization structure, then they won't give answers. Because in my opinion, the reason is they do not know the literal meaning of the word structure. Because if they know that literal meaning of the word structure, then they can easily say what is organization structure. So structure refers to the relationship between various parts that make up a whole. In English language, wherever we use the term structure, it refers to relationship between various parts in simple terms. Relationship between various parts. For example, in financial management, experts talk about capital structure. Capital structure. So capital is composed of debt and equity. What is capital structure? Already we know what is structure, relationship between various parts. What is capital structure? Relationship between debt and equity. Here, now we are talking about a team structure, relationship among members. It may be formal, informal, roles, everything, leadership and structure, the context. Climate of trust. What about the level of trust within the team among members? Level of trust. We know the level of trust is very important. High performance teams are characterized by a higher level of trust that we know. Performance evaluation. How performance is evaluated? reward systems. Whether, for example, whether individuals are rewarded or groups are rewarded. There is a difference, right? The entire group, you may reward the entire group for its performance, or you may reward individuals in that team. So all these are included in the context, team context. Composition. Abilities of members. We know, right? Different members may have different levels of skills, different abilities. So that will obviously determine the effectiveness of that team. Personality. Personality will take up later, right? Role allocation. How roles are allocated. Already we know what is a role and how these roles are allocated. Diversity. Already we talked about that. Size of teams. We know. Already I told you. Some of the studies indicate that less than 10 is a good number for a team. When you increase the size, then slowly problems will crop up. Member flexibility. To what extent members are adaptable to situations. Flexibility. Member preferences. Each member may have his or her own preferences. And sometimes that also will affect the team effectiveness. So these are all the variables that come under composition. Now, personality, I think in the last session, we talked about big five in teamwork. Right? We are one expert has asked that question: is there a big five in teamwork? And that person has come up with 5 components of teamwork that we have seen. But actually, that was based on this big 5 personality theory. Big 5. Because there are a number of theories, personality theories, but most of the research evidences support this big 5 personality theory. So big 5 theory simply says there are 5 basic dimensions of personality which underlie all other dimensions of behavior, all other behaviors. Just 5 basic dimensions of personality. Extraversion. Extraversion refers to what extent a person is sociable, talkative, assertive, extraversion. That is the first dimension. Second dimension, agreeableness. To what extent a person is cooperative, good-natured, agreeableness. Third, to what conscientiousness. To what extent a person is reliable. To what extent a person is reliable, organized, achievement-oriented. That is the third dimension, conscientiousness. Emotional stability. Already you might have come across emotional intelligence, neuroticism. Emotional stability, the opposite is called neuroticism. Right? Emotional stability, you know what is emotional stability. Then fifth dimension, openness to experience. Whether a particular person is creative, artistically sensitive or not. That is the fifth dimension. So, according to this big 5 personality theory, 5 basic dimensions of personality underlie all other behaviors, all behaviors of a person. Now, the question is, see, in team effectiveness, we are in the second part, that is composition. In composition, we have written personality. Just you think about one team. In that team, suppose one person is an extrovert. A person who is highly sociable, talkative. So you just think about how that person will behave in that particular team. Right? Definitely that his behavior will affect effectiveness, right? He will talk to all others, he will be friendly with others, he will be highly social, he may try to help others, he may try to adopt. So, right? Extraversion. So extraversion will have an impact on team effectiveness. Agreeableness, to what extent a person is cooperative. If one impact on effectiveness. Third, conscientiousness. Suppose someone is highly conscientious, that is highly organized, goal-oriented, right, good-natured, effectiveness will be high. Emotional stability. You know the importance of emotional intelligence. Openness to experience. A person who scores high on this dimension will be highly creative. If a member is highly creative, we know what will happen. So, personality obviously will determine team effectiveness. It all depends upon the personality, but you may have a doubt. You may have a doubt. Do people have the ability to adapt to situations? Do they have the ability? That is my question. Suppose one particular person, he has a particular kind of personality. Okay. Let us assume he is an introvert. He is an introvert. He will not easily mingle with others. Suppose he will not easily mingle with others. He joins a company. My question is, will he adapt to the situation in the company or not? What is your comment on that? An individual is an introvert. An introvert is a person who is a shy type. Simply speaking, he is a shy type, right?
Doctor, he has to adopt. When he joins the company, I'm sure he will go through a phase where he realizes that he has to bring in certain changes within himself, and adaptability is bare minimum when he joins a new organization.
Exactly, correct, sir. Good. So we have the ability to adopt. In general, people have the ability to adopt. There is a theory called trait activation theory. There is a theory called, relating to personality, there is a theory called trait activation theory. That is, what situations, you may have a particular personality, you join a company, you work, and some situations may help to bring some of your traits visible. Situations may activate some of your traits. So that is trait activation theory. So actually, when we talk about this team effectiveness, we should focus more on personality. There is also another theory called the situation strength theory. How an individual reacts to a situation depends upon the situation strength. Situation strength will be high if we have too many norms, standards. If we have strict standards which specify how you should behave in a particular situation. If we do not have any norms relating to how a person should behave in that situation, then situation strength is low. So situation strength high, situation strength low. How an individual reacts, it all depends upon situation strength, according to that situation strength theory. Of course, personality will intervene, maybe a mediating variable. So when we talk about team effectiveness, we should focus on personality also. At least we should try to understand Big Five. Then the third part, process. Process include, in this model, process includes these variables. Common purpose, the team has a purpose, specific goals, team efficacy. Already I told you, team efficacy refers to a belief that how well the team can perform the task. It's a belief or perception about how well they can do the work, do the task. Then conflict levels. How conflicts level will affect effectiveness, we'll take up later. Social loafing. Social loafing, it is a tendency to reduce our effort when we work collectively. In general, the social loafing theory says, in general, people have a tendency to reduce their effort when they work collectively rather than individually. Social loafing. So social loafing is a type of negative synergy. 2 + 2 = 3. Management, we talk about synergy, right? Already I told you positive synergy, negative synergy. The social loafing is kind of a negative synergy. Individuals reduce their effort when they work collectively. Okay, so all these variables come under process. Now, actually, we are concerned with team effectiveness. We should remember this. We should keep this in our mind. The team has potential for effectiveness, potential group effectiveness, right? Suppose there are 7 members in the team. These 7 members as a team, they have certain potential effectiveness. Since you are using the team instead of individuals, there are some processes. So these are the processes already we have seen. There is a purpose, specific goals. There is a belief, members have belief, conflict. Some social loafing is also there. These are the processes. Because of these processes, the effectiveness may increase, process gains. Because of these processes, there may be increase in effectiveness. That is called process gains. But sometimes it may be process loss. For example, social loafing. Because you use a team, some members may reduce their effort. So there is a loss. Social loafing reflects negative synergy. So like that, there may be some process losses. That leads to actual group effectiveness. So potential group effectiveness plus process gains minus process losses equals actual group effectiveness. That we should keep in mind. Since you use a team, there are gains, there are some losses, the result. Okay, see, there are a number of models on team effectiveness. One of the models is this T7 model of team effectiveness. T7, simply 7 T's, 5 internal and 2 external variables. Internal variables include trust. Actually, we should start with trust because there should be a purpose for a team, for the existence of a team. So that is why we always start with, in T7, we always start with trust. There is a purpose, trust, talent, and 4th one, teaming skills. Members have ability to work cooperatively, teaming skills. Then task skills. Team members execute the task successfully, task skills. So these are the 5 internal variables. Then there are 2 external variables, team leader fit. The team leader is categorized under external variable, externality, team leader fit, to what extent a leader fits with the team. Then team support from the organization, to what extent the organization supports that particular team. This T7 is a popular team effectiveness model. Okay, now what we do, as I told you earlier, forces. There may be cooperation, there may be conflict. If there is cooperation, no problem, team performs better. What happens in a conflict? So we should understand the nature of conflict. Actually, two experts, Chung and Megginson, they have given a definition for conflict. I like that definition very much because it is a general definition for any kind of conflict. They define conflict like this: struggle between incompatible or opposing needs, wishes, ideas, interests, or people. Struggle between incompatible or opposing needs, wishes, ideas, interests, or people. Why I like this definition is conflict may occur even within an individual. Even within an individual, conflict may occur. For example, suppose one talented guy completes his MBA and he gets offers from two MNCs. Both are highly attractive companies. Can you tell me what will happen within him? Can you guess? Offers from two MNCs, equally attractive, highly attractive companies. What he will experience? Can you just make a guess? Same salary. Let us assume that CTC is the same in both the cases. What will happen within him? There will be a struggle, right? He will experience conflict. He will experience conflict, whether to join this company or that company. Actually, in OB terminology, we call it approach conflict. He wants to join this company and also he wants to join this company. He wants to join both the companies, but one cannot join both the companies. These two goals are mutually exclusive. So that is why we call this particular conflict as approach conflict. Right? So conflict can occur even within an individual. That is why I like that definition very much. Struggle between incompatible or opposing needs, wishes, ideas, interests of people. Okay, let us have a look at what happens in a conflicting situation. There are 5 stages. 5 stages in a conflict situation. Stage 1, potential opposition or incompatibility exists in communication structure or personal variables. I think I written antecedent, the model. In the model, they have written antecedent conditions. Probably you may know. Antecedent means the conditions which exist before conflict. In this case, ante, A-N-T-E. You know the meaning, right? Ante. For example, we write anti-meridian, AM, PM, right? We write anti-meridian. So anti means antecedent, conditions that exist before a conflict. So they write it as antecedent conditions. Antecedent conditions may exist in communication structure or personal variables. How conflicts may emerge because of communication. Maybe because, for example, insufficient exchange of information or noise in communication. Structure, already I told you what is structure, relationships. In an organization structure, all the variables that come under structure, organization structure. Personal variables, something connected to that person, personality, values. Conflict may emerge because of personality. Conflicts may emerge because of emotions. Conflict may emerge because of values of a person. So antecedent conditions, potential opposition may exist in communication structure or personal variables. Stage 2, perceived conflict. Parties may perceive conflict. That is cognition. Cognition means you come to know that there is a conflict. Awareness. This is nothing but a perceived conflict. Is awareness. Parties become aware of a conflict. There is a second box in stage 2, felt conflict. Felt emotional involvement in that conflict. Why it is written separately? Because sometimes there may be a conflict. You may be aware of a particular conflict, but you may not be emotionally involved in it. Right? So that is why it is written separately. Perceived conflict. You become aware of a conflict. The second box, felt conflict. Party may become emotionally involved in that conflict. So that is stage 2. Stage 3, intentions. Because of this perception of a conflict or emotional involvement. Intention means you decide to act in a, there is parties decide to act in a particular way. Usually these are the 5 basic intentions: competing, collaborating, compromising, avoiding, and accommodating. We know what is competing, what is collaborating. The point is when parties will compete, when parties will collaborate, that we'll see in the next slide, right? So conflict handling intentions. Intentions lead to behavior, parties' behavior, others' reactions. Because of that, outcomes: increased group performance, decreased group performance. Performance may go up or performance may go down. For example, conflict may lead to increased group performance. Suppose there is a conflict. Let us assume that in a particular team, now they have a debate on whether to enter, for example, whether to enter into Japanese market or American market. There is intense conflict between people. And each party will come up with data. Why should we enter into Japanese market? The other party will come up with data to support why we should enter into American market. So there will be increased debate, communication, right? Final decision will be accurate because based on data, they analyzed everything and then finally they take a decision. Performance may go up. But sometimes, what happens sometimes because of conflict, the group itself may disband. A member may say, I'm not ready to work in this group. Let me move to that group. Performance may go down. So these are the 5 stages in a conflict. Now the question is, when parties compete and when they will be cooperative. See, this is based on these 2 variables, assertiveness and cooperativeness. When a party will compete, here assertiveness refers to degree to which a party wants to satisfy his or her own needs. Cooperativeness refers to the degree to which a party wants to fulfill the needs of the other party. So based on that, you can plot this matrix, right? Assertiveness, low, high. Instead of writing low, high, in this model, they are written unassertive, assertive. Cooperativeness, uncooperative, cooperative. So when the party is highly assertive and uncooperative, that party will try to compete with the other party. When both the parties are assertive, they may compete with each other. See, when both the parties are cooperative, when this variable is high in both the parties, among both the parties, then they may collaborate with each other. Then compromise. In compromise, we know each party has to give up something, right? Avoiding. When a party is unassertive, they try to avoid. Then cooperative. When a party is highly cooperative and unassertive, that party may accommodate. Accommodating means you accept other parties' wishes. So competing, collaborating, compromising, avoiding, and accommodating are the basic intentions in a conflicting situation. So this is the intensity of a conflict. At the bottom, you can see no conflict. At the top, you find annihilatory conflict. It is extreme level of conflict which will result in a problem. Minor disagreements, it all starts with a conflict at a low intensity level. Minor disagreements, and overt questioning, assertive verbal attacks, verbal attacks, then threats and ultimatums. One party may issue an ultimatum, aggressive physical attacks, then finally overt efforts to destroy the other party, try to eliminate the other party. So based on intensity. So this is very important. I think one of you asked about this also, conflict, the performance. The relationship between level of conflict and unit performance. This graph, usually they call it the inverted U. Inverted U. See, when there is a low level of conflict, the unit performance is low. When there is a very high level of conflict also, unit performance is low. When there is an optimal level of conflict, the performance is high. So this is what we should remember. Low level of conflict, low performance. Very high level of conflict, low performance. Maximum performance occurs when there is an optimal level of conflict. That we should remember. So if you are a leader, the point is now that you are a leader of a team, what you should do? You have to manage conflict. What is conflict management? Conflict management is the use of conflict resolution and stimulation techniques to achieve the desired level of conflict. Because you should achieve the optimal level of conflict. How to achieve that optimal level? If there is a high level of conflict, then you should resolve. You should try to resolve conflict. If there is zero conflict, you should try to stimulate conflict. So what are the conflict resolution techniques? Let us start with, usually there will be conflicts, right? In most of the teams, there will be conflicts. What are the techniques? Problem solving. You just convene a meeting, a face-to-face meeting of the parties, try to solve the problem. Conflict will be resolved. Superordinate goals. Superordinate means shared goals, common goals. You can fix common goals which cannot be attained without the cooperation of the conflicting parties. Then naturally the parties will cooperate with each other and they will try to achieve the goals. Then expansion of resources. Sometimes you can expand. Sometimes conflict may be because of resources, right? Resource allocation. In that case, you expand resources. Conflict resolved. Avoidance. Sometimes parties can simply avoid, withdraw from a conflicting situation. That is also a technique. Smoothing. In smoothing, actually, what happens? The superior highlights the commonalities between the conflicting parties and downplays the differences. When you do that, probably you can resolve conflict. Smoothing, highlighting the commonalities, downplaying the differences. And compromise, we know what is a compromise. Authoritative command. If you are the boss, you can use your authority to resolve the conflict. Because you have the right, you are the boss. Then altering human variable. Human variable means behavior. You can change behavior of people. Maybe you can use, for example, OD, behavior change techniques. And altering structural variables. Already we know what is structure, pattern of formal relationships. You can introduce some changes in the structure in the relationship. So all these are conflict resolution techniques. Now the question is, in case there is no conflict at all, then what to do? You have to simulate conflict because you have to maintain a certain level of conflict, optimal level of conflict. How to stimulate conflict? Just by communicating something, you can create conflict. For example, in MBA, we have two sections, section 1 and section 2. Suppose, don't take it seriously. Suppose I want to create conflict among these groups. Suppose I go to section 1, I go to section 1, and during the conversation I say, see, just now I met section 2 students and I went to section 2, and in that class they said they are more intelligent than section 1. What is your comment on that? If I ask that, what will happen? There will be conflict. So just by communicating something, you can create conflict. Then bringing in outsiders. We are talking about a team, group, a performing group. Right? You bring in outsiders. When outsiders come, naturally there will be conflict. Restructuring the organization. Restructuring, we know, right? You can change the rules and regulations. Restructuring. Appointing a devil's advocate. I think you might have watched a program in CNN, I think, a Devil's Advocate by Karan Tapar. The Modi's interview was famous. Even our Jayalalitha's interview in that program, famous one. You can watch those in YouTube, I think. Devil's Advocate, a program in CNN. Okay, okay, let us avoid deviations. Who is a devil's advocate? Devil's advocate is a person who purposely argues against popular views in a group. For example, in a team, most of the members say that we'll go to Germany. We will enter into Germany. One member may say, no, we should enter into Australia. That person acts as a devil's advocate. That will generate conflict. The other members will question, why Germany? Why Australia? So this person, as a superior, as the boss, what you should do is you should identify someone and you should assign that role. You play the role of a devil's advocate in every situation. Then that person should be able to do that. Devil's advocate role. Whenever there is a popular view about something, that person should argue against that. That will generate conflict. Our intention is to create conflict. You can generate conflict. So you should try to achieve the desired level of conflict. That will help to increase effectiveness. Okay, doubts and questions?
Participants, if you have any doubts or questions, you can.
Okay, I think before winding up, just one way of resolving conflict is negotiation. I think you all know what is negotiation. Process in which two or more parties exchange goods or services and attempt to agree on the exchange rate for them. That is how Robbins defines negotiation. Very quickly, we'll complete this also, right? There are two types of bargaining. One is distributive bargaining and integrative bargaining. In distributive bargaining, each party tries to get as much as it can. So that will result in a win-lose situation. In integrative bargaining, you try to create a win-win situation. Both the parties should achieve something. So in negotiation, there are two types of strategies: distributive, integrative. What are the differences? So these are the differences.
Kavita, I Krishna Raj in the video.
So this will be the negotiation process. What actually happens in a negotiation? Parties have to prepare and plan. Then definition of ground rules. Ground rules: who will negotiate, where will negotiate, what will happen, what are the issues, everything. Clarification and justification. Initially, the parties express their views, then the other parties may have some doubts regarding that. They clarify. Each party has to justify their positions. Then actually the bargaining happens. Parties try to negotiate, bargaining, and solve problem. Then finally closure and implementation. You close it. Closure means you have to usually written document, right? It results in a document. When you negotiate, it is always better to have write it down. Closure and implementation. So negotiation is one of the techniques for resolving conflict. Thank you. Doubts and questions?
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, madam.
I think most of them have mentioned in the chat that it was very informative.
Oh.
Any questions, participants, before we break for lunch and then meet again at 2:15? Any participants from your end? Sorry, any questions from your end? The feedback link is shared with you all in the chat box. So there is one question.
Yes, madam.
Are the dynamics?
Yes, madam. They are one and the same. The only thing is team is a mature group. That is the only difference. So the difference is in a team, the focus is on task accomplishment. A team is a mature group focusing on task accomplishment. So when we say group, the group maybe in some other stage. How to in group conflict, how to manage between peers. We should try to resolve conflict only. There may be conflict among people within a team. So the team leader should try to resolve conflicts.
Yes, sir. I think that's it. Yeah, thank you so much, sir. That was very insightful and informative session, very detailed, and you explained the concepts in so much detail and very, very interesting.
Thank you, madam. Thank you.
And yeah, from the comments, I can see participants also had immense learning from your session. They have appreciated.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for sparing time and for the efforts.
Thank you, madam. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Bye.
Goodbye.
Bye. Okay,
Thank you,
participants.
sir. Thank you.
Participants, let us meet at 2:10. So let us meet at 2:10. We have the final session, and after that, it will be followed by assessment. Assessment will be on for 3 hours to 4 hours. So you don't have to worry that it will get closed, but then be there. And then again, there will be a link shared where we will collect the attendance through the feedback link in the last session also. So be there. Okay. Any questions from your end, or shall we break for lunch?
Ma'am, thank you so much. For the assessment part, is it a link or will that be online?
It will be a link which you have to click, and it will be an online. It will be as it is in Google Forms. Like
Right.
yeah.
Okay. Great. Thank you so much.
Ma'am, will you please share that link on a mail also?
Mail to those participants who have attended. We have collected the mails of those participants who have attended. To only those we will be sharing.
Yeah, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Okay, then let us have lunch.
Ma'am,
and
the duration of the online exam?
You may need around, I think, 40 minutes maximum.
Okay,
Max, not more than 40 minutes. 30 to 40 minutes. If you're really quick, 30 minutes, or else 40 maximum.
Okay, thank you.
When, ma'am?
Pardon me?
Will be the exam, ma'am?
After 4. After 4, we will open. The moment the session ends, the final session, we will open. Yeah, we will. Yeah, today.
Okay.
Send you the link, and then you have to again click the link, answer the question. It will be like Google form. Yeah, the data will share. I'll share the PPT. Mr. I think Mr. Saibal Chatterjee, we will share the PPTs of today's session also. Or before the exam you want, right? Okay, I'll share it during the lunch session. The first 2 session PPTs.
Maybe the first 2 sessions we can share. I'll send you the mail list. You can just share it with them.
Okay, fine.
Okay. Okay. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
So we will end the meeting now, and all of you please join by 2:10 for our next and last session for the day.
Okay.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you all.